Do it live.
And we're back. And we are back.
Yes, we're back.
We are back. We are back.
We're back, and I'm not going to mess with my chair this time because it's a lot annoying. But
I just had a question pop into my head.
Aaron apparently has a question to ask me.
Yeah, so we're doing a series of videos where we just randomly generate topics, randomly generate questions.
Right.
And this is the second one, right?
Yes, this is the second time, yep.
And here's my question.
Oh, jeez. What is it now?
Why are people
Oh, no.
so fascinated with the past? Why is that?
Wow, that's a good question.
Even if they are not, or they didn't, live during that time period. What is it about the past that people are so fascinated with? Why is that?
I think, to me, it would be the difference in culture and the difference in everything altogether. I mean, you go back how many years and this is going to be bad when I don't know how to answer this.
No, I think you're doing a great job. I mean, this is just your point of view, your opinion.
I know, I just don't know where I'm going with it.
And sometimes we don't know, but we get there.
We do.
Yeah.
I was just thinking it's in relativity, you know, to me it's just, we look at things now and then we look at things back then, it's just, we try to imagine, or at least I try to, when I'm in a situation where I'm reading or looking at something historical, I try to place myself in someone else's position from a long time ago and say, how could they have lived like this? Like, you know, we got all these things that we have now, this stuff, these luxuries we have now today, and people thousands of years ago didn't have any of that stuff, but they got by just fine. So it's like, you know, I guess I just kind of say it's all relative to the time that you're in.
How about even just like, you know, less than 100 years ago, people can be fascinated about things that happened, you know, the early 1900s,
Right.
the 1940s, 50s. You know, why is it, you know, I don't know, I think it's an interesting thing to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
It is interesting because, especially from, you know, a certain point in time, like there was just like the Industrial Revolution. Like we as a country, we've come so far as our you know, industry has gone. I can't.
Technological development, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Don't mention it. It's an
Sure.
inside joke there.
Yes, this is an inside joke for sure.
Technological development and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you look at where we are now compared to where we were then, it's fascinating just to see how people used to live. I mean, like, everybody's different. You know, some people live the same as other people, but for the most part, you know, everybody's different. They got their own little quirks. And you know, they have different things that, like minimalists, like people who are minimalist. You know, to some people, they can't wrap their minds around somebody being a minimalist, whereas I can, because I feel like that's a great way to live. It's a very low stress way of living. You don't got to worry about having a big fancy house. You know, people make small houses and they have no mortgage payment. They have their own space. They own their own property. They own their own, you know, domicile. And you know, it's just.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If you could go back in time
Okay.
to any year, any time frame, any decade, any century,
Okay.
whether it was last year, last week, 50 years ago, 150 years ago,
Right.
100,000, whatever, if you can go back in time,
Yeah.
and you didn't have to stay there,
Right.
or if you wanted to stay there, fine, it's not a big deal.
Right.
But if you could go back in time, for whatever period of time that you so choose,
Right.
where would you go and why?
I would probably go to the Middle East. I would go to the Middle East and because I want to know more about the Sumerian culture.
Okay, interesting.
Yes.
What is it about the Sumerian culture that...
And the Phoenicians.
Huh?
Like, I didn't mean to cut you off there, I'm sorry.
No, please, please.
I was going to say the Sumerians and Phoenicians because they were like some of the first settlements to, I don't know if they're some of the first settlements that were in recorded history, but they were part of the beginning of you know, man being on Earth and like communication and having a society or whatever. I'm not explaining this as best I can, but I mean, you know, we get like Phoenicians. That's where we get the word phonics from. That's our speech and everything like that. You know what I mean? Like it's to me, it's just I don't know.
Seems like an interesting time to live in, right?
Very, yes.
Aside from, you know, the low life longevity and
Yeah, yeah,
the setback in health advancement and so on and so forth, but it
Right.
just seems like a good time to just kind of exist in for at least for a week or a month or a year or whatever.
right,
Interesting.
right, yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
It's a good place to stop. Well, thanks for joining us again on, I guess, our shorts, random shorts, or whatever you want to call it,
I'm wearing shorts.
until we until we put the camera back on and think of something else. I guess. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, we'll sign off for now, and as Aaron said, thank you. And I will take my walk over to the camera now. And every time.